This is Mary Nichols, aka DJ Fusion, and you are now listening to Chasing Dreams with Amy J.
Welcome to Chasing Dreams podcast with Amy J. Amy believes that realizing a life without regrets is achieved by taking chances, chasing your dreams, making moves, and overcoming your doubts. The Chasing Dreams podcast will help you overcome life's obstacles, believe in your potential, and inspire you to face your fears. And now here's the woman who is passionately pursuing her dreams, Amy J.
Hey Dream Chasers, this is Amy J, and thank you so much for tuning in to episode 138 of Chasing Dreams. Today's episode is sponsored by our Patreon campaign supporters. Thank you guys for all that you do. You are rock stars. It is so appreciated. If you would like to learn more about our Patreon campaign or donate yourself, even if it's just $1 a day, it goes a long way. You can do so over at amyj21.com/Patreon. Today, I have for you a fun guest. I say that all the time, but really all these guests are normally, and about 99.9% of the time, my friends. And so today I want to introduce to you guys Mary Nichols, also known as DJ Fusion of the FuseBox Radio Broadcast, a U.S. mixshow and events DJ whose main musical focus is in the urban music genre. The syndicated FuseBox Radio Broadcast was founded by Mary while she was an undergraduate student at the Rutgers University New Brunswick campus in 1998 at Rutgers University Radio. I want you to take a second and think about that. This is 2018 as of this recording. 20 years. 2018 minus 1998. Do the math. 20 years. Okay. That's phenomenal for anyone to be doing something. And so, that deserves all the kudos for what she's done. From its original roots, the FuseBox Radio Broadcast has spread to over 25 and more website, FM, and internet radio stations and podcast distribution channels. She is heard, guys, in not just the U.S., but all around the frickin' world. Europe. You know what? I don't even want to guess the other places, but she has done so much, and she is still doing it. And she has been able to take a few minutes out of her day to have a chat with us about that journey. And so let me stop talking so you can listen to it. Hey, Mary, thank you so much for joining.
No problem. Thank you for having me on. We've been talking about this for a minute. I'm glad we're able to finally connect.
Yes. I am rectifying the delays and things just aligned perfectly, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's nice to have you on the show, not only for what you've been doing, and we've been around at each other's circles, probably 2-3 years, something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And
it's been about that time.
Something like that. And I've been nothing but impressed with what you have done. And you guys have heard it on the intro that I gave, but 1998, I'm dating myself. I graduated high school in 1998. Mm-hmm. That's 20 years as of this airing that you have been chasing this dream. That is crazy.
Well, you are younger than me, so that made me feel more like an old because I graduated in 96. Shout out to PG County, Maryland, Oxnell High and all of that. But it's been a journey with this. And it's one I had no idea I was going to be on, but yet here we are.
Oh, that's interesting. You said you had no idea you were going to be on this journey, but when you started in 1998, you begin this process. What were you thinking?
Essentially, just to give a little bit of background on myself and the show, I actually started it as an undergraduate student at Rutgers University. Shout out to WRSU 88.7 FM. I was just going to one of those student, organization orientation things. And the station just happened to have one. And I've always been very big on music and things of that nature. And they were recruiting for on-air personalities, folks working in the different departments, including the music department and so forth. I started out in the music department, and I eventually met my mentor, who was like, hey, why aren't you trying for a show? But I was like, I don't think anybody would care what I would do for a show, even though I like playing music and doing other stuff. And they're like, well, give it a try. So I trained under them for a while. And then I was given a midnight to 2 a.m. slot, which I think people probably expected for me to drop out of. Mm-hmm. But my dorm happened to be literally across the street.
Oh,
from the station. So it's like, yeah, I can like literally roll over there and roll back. And then I think after a while when I was just doing it, a lot of students and people who were doing night shifts would call in to the show. And I'm like, holy crap, somebody's listening. I'm not talking into the void into Central Jersey and North Jersey and all of that. And it just became a very regular pattern of my life. Music labels and artists, local and national and international, started taking things seriously. And somehow now in this month of April, it's been 20 years I've been doing the show, period. And 12, which feels crazy, I've been podcasting.
Listen, first of all, kudos to you. That is
bananas. I have no mini-me's, but I have a show. I don't know how that worked out. But it's cool. I mean, I'm not mad at it.
No. But have you always had an inclination towards music? Was that something you've had an interest in? And you just kind of, it worked out that this happened?
Yeah, like I played a decent amount of instruments back in the day, throughout my education. College, I wasn't particularly study music and stuff. But I mean, I'm always one of those type of people where, you know, the fam would give you allowance or holiday money. It would essentially go into music and books. Because I did not give a damn about fashion for a extremely overdue long period of time. I'm just one of those people, like, if I get a release and I really like it, I'm going to try to find out all the information about it. I want to find out who produced it. I want to find out beats and all this other type of stuff. And as somebody who was relatively awkward for part of my childhood, you can escape into music and, you know, reading and stuff like that. And music is one of the ways that, as corny as the saying is, it is a universal language. Everybody can connect with an artist that they like, you know. And doing the show, and also at that time getting involved with some of my friends and doing a music organization based around hip hop helped me out, like kind of do that true breaking out of one shell, as it were. And I honestly just think a lot of the stars aligned, because I did not think I was going to be a media personality or anything of any kind of sort. Even now, like, you know, I'm relatively quiet until I get comfortable with people. But something about just how everything synced in with what was, okay, this is fun. Now it's a dream I can really do.
Well, so that's my question, because college radio is one thing, right?
Yes.
You leave college, you kept this going. Like, did you just, because of the response and the reception from your audience, again, probably, was it all a college audience that you thought, give it a shot?
Yeah, essentially. Plus, I think things just grew at the right time with the technology.
Okay.
Like, I graduated college in 2001, and that was when you just started having the beginning of like Podomatic and a few other companies doing podcasting and internet radio, you know, RIP to Live 365 and all of that. And it was like, oh, I can actually do this. I was in New Jersey for a decent period of time before I moved back to the DC metro area. It was like, oh, well, we can do this thing, and that's cool. And when podcasting and internet radio came, you know, and this is going to probably make the both of us sound like semi-old to some of these younger kids right now. You just started having the beginning of the MP3 players, right?
Yep.
So like super, super early iPods and Zunes and other random things that were going on.
Where the storage was like 16 megabytes, y'all, or like.
And that was like I don't know if I can curse on here, but that was the business, you know. And broadband internet wasn't really a thing until about the time I graduated.
Right. Dial up,
like
y'all.
Easier access. Yeah, you had like that AOL dial. When people hear that modem, they're like, what the hell is that? Like, no, that was the life, okay? If you were not on a college campus or like a library.
That T1.
Exactly. Like that T1 connection like opened up the world or whatever.
That's why we wanted to stay at college, let's be honest.
Exactly. You know, because it took a little while for Comcast and all these other companies to get on board with that. But for myself and my friend and partner who I do the show with now, shout out to John, we were just there like, hey, it would be kind of cool to be like, here's our show. And if somebody wants to go to a website and pull it up, they can do it if worse come to worse. Now, when the smartphone explosion started happening and the apps and things, that just made things grow even more. But for a good period of time before getting a home setup together and everything for a home studio, we had places to record and do stuff. And part of it was just us liking to be able to go over our archives and listen to it. But then the technological boom had us not open up to just the local area we were currently functioning in. It literally opened us up to the world. And even now in this day and age, it's kind of mind blowing that somebody will either stumble onto your show or recommend you or whatever because you just put your stuff out there. A lot of this was really a risk for a good long period of time. And
your audience is worldwide. I mean, you have a European audience. I mean, it's not limited to the US.
No, and that in itself has been a blessing since, again, who thinks that somebody one day is like, hey, I like the music that y'all play, or I like what y'all are talking about, or y'all are kind of crazy, but I'm listening anyway. And it's like, okay.
Right.
That's kind of cool. And with the podcasting situation, especially, like you have a lot of music artists who will be like, is my stuff really being played if I give it to a DJ or whatever else? And you can be like, yeah, you can hear it being played right here. You can see our playlist and all that good stuff. So you can use it for your own promotional growth and, careers and what have you. And likewise on our end, in terms of a benefit, because not too long after folks started doing the show in the early 2000s, we did an official LLC. So it was actually a business in terms of doing entertainment things in terms of music, writing, photography, and so forth. We could now be like, if you want to hear what we do, you can literally go to this website and check out our stuff, and see that, we're reliable, it's regular. We lasted for a long period of time and stuff. And people who want to get interviews and things, like everybody, I think, likes getting a little bit of good and positive press.
Sure.
But now it can last pretty much as long as the internet lasts. And more people have access to that all over the world every day. And that's cool. Like the interesting thing to me with podcasting right now, besides its longevity, is that I think it's one of the last few forms of media in general, much less independent media, that everybody had the same access to a distribution channel.
Yeah.
Like, you and I, and also the BBC, NPR, NBC, and so forth, all go through the same channels to have people check us out.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily, a multi-tiered structure. And that's insane. And at this juncture right now, which is a blessing because in the early days, you kind of had to be a little more on the tech nerd side to get your stuff out a certain way. You can record with almost anything and put your thoughts out there and whatever mode of creativity that you have. And we all got to go through Apple Podcast and whatever else. And podcasting is still unique and special because it's literally you being you in your best form, and people get tired of a lot of the commercialized stuff that's put out there. You literally are hearing unique people. And for folks in our age range of the 30s to almost the ignored segment, commercially and otherwise, until very recently, it's like there's a ton of us who are doing our thing who never thought we would do our thing this way. And that's spectacular. Like everybody's voice can be heard.
And it's quite
a democratic way.
The interesting thing is, and guys, just to be clear, FuseBox Radio Broadcast, the podcast version, has over 550 episodes.
Yeah, I think we're at 555,
something like that, which is phenomenal. Keep in mind,
it's a weekly show. It's nuts. Yeah,
it's nuts. It's crazy. And the best part is you're doing something you love, but you're also helping so many people because you get a lot of requests and independent artists, right? What is something that has surprised you about what you're doing and how you've helped others?
For me, it's seeing a lot of interesting career trajectories with artists. Like we've literally seen independent artists become mainstream. who came through the show.
Really?
And
Can you name one?
I think back in the day we had Talib on early.
What?
We've had Andre 3000 in the history, various Wu-Tang cats are parts of their careers. On the political end, before the Green Party got special in quotation marks, we had Cynthia McKinney in 2008 interview with us. We had different Socialist Party people interview with us in 2016, which was one of our most commented shows on in a very long time on multiple ends.
Really?
Yeah, since it's one of those things that was interesting because, as people I'm sure are all aware, 2016 was crazy here in the States and whatnot with the presidential election. And one of the things that I was curious about was, you had Senator Bernie Sanders run and everything. You had the people who were just there like, well, what the hell is a socialist? And we're like, well, we have a thing here. And I just looked on the web in terms of various people who are running independently. And it was like, how about we have different people who are in the parties that you're not hearing of talk about how they got into that political viewpoint in the first place and what it means to them. And then, talk about, their party platforms and stuff that aren't being heard through the major news networks. Or whatever. Since you pretty much just had Hillary Clinton, Trump, Bernie Sanders, and at sometimes here and there, Gary Johnson, I think was Libertarian, and Jill Stein was the Green Party nominee. It's like, well, there's more people who are out here.
Right.
And ultimately, people should want to have
an informed opinion.
Exactly. Right. Like have an informed opinion, decide who you're going to vote for, because an educated vote is the most powerful vote. You shouldn't just like pick a name out of a hat. So far as I'm concerned. And we interviewed different people and we had bipartisan love and hate, which was crazy to me. So you had some people who were screaming on us that we weren't sweating Bernie Sanders, but it was like, hey, this is my show, so back up off me. Right. Two, you don't got to check out anything. We're just trying to show different stuff. But then you had Hillary Clinton people hating. Of course, like you had Trump folks hating because we are very loud, and opinionated Black people, which makes some people already mad, but it's like, whatever. I can't do anything about that.
You can't.
It was just very fascinating seeing the gamut of responses. And we're just kind of here like, we just want to educate folks. Then you had some people just there like, oh my God, nobody ever talks to these people for real, besides, occasional things here and there. And now we heard this, and this is kind of cool seeing how somebody came at it at a certain angle, especially when, and I mean, I'm not trying to be mean, it wasn't the stereotypical idea of here is, a young or old white guy talking about stuff, right. Or somebody using a Karl Marx meme like he's, secular Santa Claus. Here's some real people, who are talking about how they ran into things from, older Black women to, Latina and Black women who are our age to, a white fella who came through via the punk rock scene. So you were really, and that's the cool thing about what you're doing is your voice is honest. It's not fake or anything. You still stay true to that. Has that been a challenge in today's medium? I don't think it's a challenge. It's just really, you got to decide what you want to stand for and what you want to represent. Like I think we've been very blessed with being honest, and people still want us aboard on various stuff anyway, because you're usually taught that you had to put on a persona. Yes. And things to get somewhere. And for me, I look at some of the things that happen with us literally just being us, because, in your earlier periods, you might try on different things. Like when I first started doing the show, I was tired of mainstream urban radio. Like I would just hear like, oh my God, I'm hearing the same 10 songs and everybody's trying to be a bootleg version of the other host, and this is garbagey. But, you still try different stuff because you don't necessarily know where you want to angle your voice, I guess. But I think when I stopped caring after maybe the first year or two, that's when everything started happening for me. I got to talk with TEDx Orlando back in 2012 because somebody checked out my show. And that blew my mind. I was like, you hear us, right? I mean, we're not crazy, but we're not really holding back on certain things. And the organizers, very nice older couple were like, yeah, so do you want to do this thing? And I'm like, yeah, I do. why wouldn't I? And
Right.
that opened up a whole world. People started doing the podcast conferences, which has been wonderful to see the growth of that on local and national levels.
Sure. I mean, that's how we met.
Exactly. Like we met through that type of thing. And we had, other various people would sit back and check things out and be like, okay, we like to have you here. I mean, to me, nobody had to choose me for anything. So if they do choose to do that, very happy for it, especially because, you've checked out my show. I'm not here to try to cause problems or trouble, but I'm really not trying to be the, middle of the road person. So you can be the visual diversity talker,
Right.
I'm gonna talk from my experience. And I've had good experiences from people of all backgrounds, and I've had some interesting ones from people of all backgrounds, including mine in terms of being a Black American in regards to what we do. But it's had me travel, through the Americas. It's had me run into some people where it kind of tripped me out at times, but it's like, wow, you're still doing this. That's awesome. We're glad that you're still, and I'm like, yeah, I apparently am out of my mind. I'm still doing this. And in other ways, it's helped out on even the business, and like people hear how people, do music mixes and all the different type of stuff people
Right.
listen to. And it's like, oh, okay, well, we know that you're prepared because I'm hearing what you do, but also I see you have a track record of doing multiple things. So there's a reliability factor that people look at with stuff. So with this, I think a lot of it has been the fact that almost at times, because you do have low times when you do this sometimes. Why when it's kind of like, what am I doing? Something always gives you a boost. Somebody, sends a nice email or asks you to go, do an event, or they see you at an event. They're like, oh, thank you for talking about A, B, C, D, or E. Like, it's just enough that just keeps things steady. And during some rougher times in my personal life, my show was a steady thing to do. I've had family members that, pass away throughout the past decade or two, including, my stepfather. I had that period of unemployment, shouts out to the government being garbagey in the early 2000s.
Right.
And all over type of stuff. Like, well, I can at least do my show,
So
it just became a thing.
Can I ask, after 20 years in the business, in podcasting, 12 years, having done all of this, are you going to continue the way you've been? Is there something, some change in the horizon, or is there a lesson you've learned that you want to kind of adjust for in the next 20?
Oh God, I will feel so creative. Like I've been podcasting for 40 years.
Let that sink in.
I mean, yeah, I'm like, wow, I will be so old. I think part of it is that, you can't necessarily look at the other side and assume the grass is greener.
Mm-hmm.
So I think sometimes we look at some people that they're like, damn, can I have an advertising thing? Can I quit my 9 to 5, please? I mean, come on, but I don't know the journey they're on. I don't know what they had to go through to get those things. I mean, I hope it's not bad, but you don't know. And sometimes you don't know their background and how long they've been working or how hard they've been working. Sometimes you just got to like stay focused on what you're doing. And, that's it. You got to, try to imitate something else or, get a little too caught up in your feelings because it seemed like it's easier for somebody. We don't know other people's lives, So I say if this is the thing you really want to do in terms of independent media, period, much less like your life goal, give it a good, steady try. Like sometimes things will knock you back and get you discouraged, but you have to be truly determined to give something a shot before being like, okay, maybe this doesn't work for me. Let me go to another place. Was
there a time for you where you may have thought of shutting down FuseBox Radio or gone through a turbulent time?
Yeah. One thing I will say that ties into this is if you are trying to be involved with a partner who doesn't support you, run. Break off with them as soon as possible.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I had some unsupportive relationships where, I'll put it like this. If somebody rolls up at you and they talk about your little show, get them the hell out of your life. If you've been dedicated to it, it's not going to work out for you.
And did it take you long to get rid of them? Because sometimes we surround ourselves by the negativity and it takes some time before we realize it.
it was longer than I should have been. But you know, when you sit back and you look back, hindsight's 20/20, right?
Yeah.
Like you get some signs or whatever, and even sometimes your people are just there like, this dude is not worth it at all. You know, sometimes you got to act on your instincts like, yeah, this ain't right at all. And it is a very unique in that regard. Like all the folks I see who are in creative couples, I'm just here like, y'all better hold on tight, yo. That's great. You know, and that doesn't mean that everything's going to be easy as pie or whatever, but somebody who realizes that your dream and your work means something is very serious. And it's not just romantic relations. We're talking about family, friends, acquaintances, all of that. So definitely keep that in mind and in heed. And likewise, I mean, I'm not saying that they can't give you feedback or other types of stuff. I mean, that's good, but it has to be constructive and from a good place. Some people, especially if your situation starts growing, can get very negative. You learn a lot about how real people are when certain things start happening.
That's true.
For you.
Put someone in an uncomfortable or bad situation, you'll see their true colors come out
quickly, you know? So in a weird way, I think when you get older, you actually act on your instincts more. Like you go through certain experiences after a while, like, you know, you might be in an environment sometimes you're just there like, nope, it's time for me to go. Whereas you might have tried to excuse certain things beforehand. And some of that is like learning, you know, and all of that.
Is there, or do you just become more fearless?
I think it's a mixture. I think it's a mixture because after a while you're just there like, man, whatever. I don't got time for your shenanigans, you know? And I think even when you have disagreements, we can tell if somebody wants to come from a place that wants to help you out. Then somebody who's just there like, oh, you know, you think you're getting bigger now. It's like, I really don't. I'm just doing better. Why are you mad at me for doing better? Like if you were in school back in the day, right? You got like a new pair of shoes and somebody was mad at you because you had a new pair of shoes and new clothing or something.
Right.
And you're like, why the hell are you mad? Like, and you're not even being arrogant or study. You're just like, I got something new. Like in a weird way with parts of your media journey, sometimes if you grow, you're going to see people who get mad when new stuff starts happening to you. And you're going to see the people who are supportive. And sometimes it's, you know, the support might not come from angles that you expect. And I think that's been a big thing about things with the FuseBox Radio. Some of the support and situations that happened to me came from left field, from a place I expected it to come from. But, you know, you got to embrace it. Like the TEDx Orlando thing came from complete left field.
Never saw that coming, huh?
No, not one bit. I literally emailed them trying to get involved with some of their after program activities. And they were like, yeah, I mean, we could do that, but we also listen to your show. Would you like to speak? And it's like, what? Like, okay. And like, we could fly you down and pay for a hotel room. And it's free? Okay.
Did you think there was some catch to it?
I didn't think there was a catch. I was just more like, how is this happening? Again, I'm me, and y'all heard some of these shows. We can be kind of a trip sometimes. But you were just there like, I like hearing this. What would you like to talk about? You know, we went back and forth on that. And it was one of those things that became really helpful in terms of doing more public speaking types of events on a more formal level, but it's still about the thing I'm very passionate about in terms of independent media and music and other stuff. So that was a big climb up in a way that I wouldn't have anticipated. I mean, I can still use that video now and be like, here's one environment I can speak in, but here's also these different type of panels and other type of stuff. Like that opened up a major, it was just a big major opening for the show. And it came from, for me, from nowhere. Obviously the universe wanted it to happen, but yeah, I wouldn't have expected for that to go down. I wouldn't have expected for the show to have taken us to Canada for a few years for their version of South by Southwest called North by Northeast. But it did, you know, like all these things happen. And I mean, I know I work hard. I know my friend works hard and other type of stuff, but it's still amazing that people look at you and like, we like what you do. And they take, you know, they're simply taking a risk on you too, you know, and all I can do is sit back and appreciate it. Like, as a student back in the day, I wouldn't have anticipated this being a very solid part of my life, which actually does some nice income supplementing, which is like, yay. Like, who wouldn't want to make money off of something they like?
Oh, absolutely. But guys, just to be clear, I mean, this is your side hustle, essentially, right? I mean, you have a 9-to-5 that you're doing, which makes what you're doing even more impressive because this isn't full time. This is you after a 9-to-5, come home, probably 6, 7, and you're working into the night on something you're passionate about.
Yeah, which I mean, advertisers, hey, if y'all want to, hook people up, I will be very glad to do so.
See,
as long as I don't sell
working.
myself out. Hey,
she's
look,
still working.
Look, I think most of us, I think if we were able to make the money that we were passionate on something that we were passionate about, most of us would probably quit our 9-to-5 tomorrow.
Sure.
To be very honest. Like, I'm not even talking about being like a multimillionaire. Just they're like, oh, I can still pay my bills. All right, peace out. You know what I mean? It is currently my side hustle. I got other obligations and things, but it's a pretty nice one. And I really appreciate that, Like, it's something I already enjoy doing. I mean, when I was in college, I wasn't making no money. And, even some of this has been a recent upswing after, a certain amount of years during a 20-year span. But it's nice, But I think when you have anything you're passionate about, you find the time and you angle it out, especially when it's something that's passionate, that's constructive. We do it with people. We do it with different activities. And then some is just finding out what your true passion is and how well it works for yourself and hopefully others, And sometimes the passion part is easier than the people part, but that's part of life's journey. And
so true.
Even this journey has had me meet so many other kinds of people I probably would have never met.
Yeah. And we actually have some circles that overlap one another. I mean, you just don't know nowadays what a small world it is. And, in 20 years that you've done this and the people you've met, the experience you've gotten, if you ever want to retire, hang it up, call it a day, take it easy, kind of find a way to do some passive income? Or is this such a passion that you just can't see yourself doing that down the road?
I currently cannot not seeing doing it down the road or whatever. I mean, there might be things I might tweak or maybe even expand upon, but giving up, no, like, why? Like, I literally feel that way about it. Like, why would I
That's awesome.
possibly stop doing what feels awesome to me, what has expanded what my viewpoint of life was back in the day to now. And especially at this juncture where you see the growth of the medium, but there's all the different types of people who are using the medium to express themselves. And there's times that you can help those folks out. Like, you just get so much good, at least for me, you get so much good from it. It's like, why would I cut off that tap? Like you mentioned, we met. And I think we didn't know that we knew mutual people.
Nope.
And that happened that way. And I'll put it like the side of the good side of social media also exploded around the time podcasts started doing more growth.
Right.
And I met a whole lot of folks that way. And even now when I they have events like DC Podfest and other type of stuff, I was like, I didn't know some of y'all literally live right around the corner or in the metro area, maybe at most 45 minutes to an hour away. And folks connected on that. And like I met Feed from Where's My 40 Acres through when I wrote for a website doing music. And it was like, oh, you live in Baltimore. Okay, that's how I learned about Chris from Movie Trailer Network. And then I found out that you knew Chris from Movie Trailer Network.
We went to college.
You know what I mean? And that's how I met Jay from the Nerdpocalypse. And just more and more connections happen from you just yammering and
just talking, right?
Your stuff from literally just talking. And then times when you meet other people at events, it's just they're like, oh, you're so and so and so, or oh, we've been talking for 1,000 years on Facebook or Twitter, or I heard about you on so and so show, or I listened to your show. Just they're like, wow, this is just like insane. And I mean, most of us do 9-to-5s or other, hustles or whatever else. And it's one of those things that does make the medium fascinating. Like most of us aren't doing this full time. And yet it has become a thing that has expanded all of our worlds.
Yeah. And I think you said it best, though. If we could do this 24/7, we would. Absolutely. No doubt about it. But I don't think we regret doing it after hours because we love it so much.
Yeah. Like, I think all of us have had that one conversation like, damn, I'm so tired. I was editing all night or trying to interview this person or do photos or whatever. But, nobody's just there like, man, screw it. I'm going to quit. Like, this is tiring. This is exhausting. This is ruining my life. Nobody has really said that.
Yeah.
The most you might have is maybe taking a break because, we're all adults. Life stuff happens. Everything has its, fluctuations. But it's just one of those things where you could just tell, like, the long-term people from, let's say, the year to 5 years to 10 years and more, this is your chunk of life. Like, I know with the folks of the Black Guy Who Tips or whatever, shout out to Ron and Karen. They have a really awesome show. You hear them talk about how they like just block out chunks of their life for it.
Yeah.
But they also have a very, you can just feel they have a very strong relationship, period. But that's the fact that this is their passion.
And they've been doing it forever too.
And they've been doing it for quite some time. You have folks like Nina Perez of podcast Fandom, who I don't know how she does everything and still maintains like multiple shows during the week while, writing for a website that covers all types of pop culture, handling a lot of other writers and stuff who do that, multiple screenings, multiple podcasts and all of that while, raising a family.
Yeah.
And all of that, where I'm just there like, you homeschool people, you do all this. What the hell?
But if you asked them, they wouldn't change it.
Like, yeah, you asked them, they wouldn't change like anything. And I mean, I think it's funny that, there's time that, everybody talks back and forth, whether it's in between their 9 to 5s or whatever else, via the different mediums. And it's just they're like, yeah, we got this thing. And oh, by the way, are you covering this thing? Cool. I'll see you there, and all of that.
Pretty much. That's the other thing. Well,
it becomes a whole different family that spins off of, podcasting. Like, when I'll talk about Phenom working for 48 years, I took him his wife's pictures for their wedding.
Oh, that's awesome.
Last year. And all of that. And then, there were Chris and other people who were there and all this type of stuff. Just they're like, damn, we all really became a little like side family of people doing what we love.
And that's, I think why we all relate and get comfortable with each other is because we can relate like that.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you one question to kind of wrap it up.
Sure.
With your 20 years of experience, right? You're doing something you're passionate about. You know what you're doing. You've seen people make mistakes. You've made your own mistakes,
sure.
Right? What is one thing you would tell someone to do today to chase their dreams?
Don't expect everything to work out perfectly at the beginning. I think sometimes I know I could be a semi-perfectionist sometimes. I'm still working on that. Sometimes you can get discouraged when things don't fall into place just so. And again, you can look at the other side of the fence and be there like, it looks like everything's going smooth for them. You don't know what the hell they're going through. You don't know who their support system is. You don't know if they're doing everything themselves. They got other production people. If maybe at the time they got more money and resources than you to promote. You don't know. And it's okay to be there like, okay, I'm stumbling, but I got to keep going for a little bit at least to see where this goes. Like, don't get discouraged because it seems like other people are doing it up better than you. Or even with something like podcasting right now, there's still so many voices that aren't being heard. And for people who might be starting, that includes yours. You might be able to do, like, I think with like a lot of mainstream media, we used to people segmenting themselves, right? You're the person who represents this race, sexuality, policy, et cetera, et cetera. Human beings can be complicated in this medium.
Yes.
And I think that is so great. On our show, we can talk about everything from how we felt about Black Panther to something that's completely serious to just goofing and just be people. And I love that multiple shows take advantage of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't got to be the block that people put you into in these other things. And people want you to be that person.
I do.
Like with this show, even with Chasing Dreams, like you're not doing it on, shout out to people who do things on other levels, of course. Like you're not doing like a bootleg, Ilyana Van Sant or whatever. You're talking to people like regular people, and that's cool. You're doing it in your own format and your own long form wherever you're doing it quite well. and other folks want to check you out.
Yeah.
Like, I think the thing with podcasting is because I think there's so many more now. I think some folks might get discouraged. So I'm like, you got to keep it up because, you know, even if you just get like 10 listeners, that's 10 people who identify with you and who you might be helping out going through a rough time.
Yep.
And those have been some of the best messages I've got from some people too. Like, thank you for doing this and A, B, C, D, or E, or, you know, I'm going through some stuff and, you know, it was.
I just want to be like, preach. I just want to be like, yes, Mary, tell them, like it's true.
Like it's very real because, you know, most of us aren't making a ton of money from this, even though whatever you get the experiences and all of that. But there are times like those type of things, heck, it's helping you get by. It's helping us get by. Because again, we're people, you know. There are times you are doing these things and you are just exhausted. Somebody from your family might be getting on your nerves. If you're involved with somebody, they might be doing the entire most and you want to like punch them in the face. It's like, okay, whatever, I got to do what I got to do. And then when you see that people appreciate what you do and, you know, it's an energy feedback loop, you know.
Absolutely.
I'm not saying to do this for ego's sake or whatever, but you just got to recognize overall that, you know, the dream chasing is going to be a bit of work. And you just got to see where it goes. I mean, ultimately, you're going to know if it works for you or not. Like, everybody's not going to maybe want to do this after a minute, but you got to give it a try. And the awesome thing about this is there's so many ways that you can do it now where you're not like breaking the bank. You don't got to be a tech nerd. There's so many resources that help you out. There's podcasts that are about podcasting, for Pete's sake.
There's everything, guys. You too can do it. And Mary's hitting the nail on the head there.
And there's so much that's free now. Like, to me, I'm like, just, you know, give it a shot. If you just want to record from your phone, there are apps for that to do on your phone until, you know, if you really want to get super heavy into it, you can get, you know, your USB mics and mixers and all of that type of stuff. Yeah. But give it a shot. And I mean, this is beyond podcasting, you know, if you want to go to school or try a different type of job or, you know, some other type of venture. Yeah. All you can do is give it a shot. Worst come to worst, it's not going to, you know, pop off, but you can at least say that you tried. You'll have some interesting life stories.
Absolutely. It's about the journey, right?
It is, you know, like the chasing the dream is the journey.
For sure. Mary, thank you so much for coming on the show and talking with us about your illustrious career. That's amazing. And how many lives you've touched. I love it. And we will be in touch. And thank you so much for all your wisdom.
Oh, thank you for having me. This was cool.
And guys, that was Mary Nichols. So stoked she was able to make time to come on the show and just chat about her amazing journey. 20 years doing something she's passionate about. Doesn't see herself stopping. Now that is a dream chaser you guys should look up to. So if you guys want to learn more about Mary, her journey, and find all the links we mentioned on the show, you can do so over at amyj21.com/episode 138. That's episode 138. All right, guys, until next time, keep chasing.
Thank you so much for listening to Chasing Dreams. Amy would love to connect with you and hear all about your pursuit of chasing your dreams. Connect with her on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram via @ChasingDreamsHQ. Or you can find Amy on Twitter @AmyJ21. That's AIMEEJ21. Be sure to visit headquarters over at ChasingDreamsHQ.com for more inspiration, motivation, and resources to help with your own dream chase. We hope you'll join Amy next week, and until then, keep chasing.